How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Uncommentary, where I talk about whatever I want to talk about, and you can't stop me. Book 1. Wait, no. Chapter 1. No, that's not. Volume 1. No, that's not it either. Phase 1. Terrible joke aside, Marvel starts off Phase 1 incredibly strong with Iron Man. The Incredible Hulk was next, and it wasn't the best, but still, Marvel Studios was in now. It had captured the attention of the world, and of course, little old me. All the way until Phase 4, I watched every single Marvel Cinematic Universe movie like the good little consumer I was, and to be honest, as Phase 1 kept chugging along, I knew it was all gonna culminate in an Avengers movie.
I'm here to talk to you about the Avenger Initiative.
Now listen, I know you can imagine just freaking out over that scene in theaters. Thing is, I didn't see it in theaters. It wasn't the norm back then to just sit and wait for the credits to roll and then see something after that, so I missed that, but you can bet your ass I rewatched it over and over again when I got the Iron Man Blu-ray. I was excited for the future of Marvel. I was excited to see this team that I read about in the comics finally assemble on screen. And I was also excited because, I grew up with Spider-Man, the X-Men, Daredevil in movies, and these heroes were never gonna assemble. It was, a pipe dream. Now it seems possible to see superheroes come together, and sadly not the ones that I mentioned before, not the X-Men or Spider-Man or Ben Affleck, Daredevil, but seeing all these new characters come out and be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that was special. And I wasn't only excited for the future of Marvel, I was excited for the future of Iron Man too. I still remember the height of Iron Man. Everyone wanted to be Iron Man, wear the suit, literally be Tony Stark. I remember people shaved their mustaches and beards to look like Robert Downey Jr. Shit was crazy. And what came next? I'm not talking about coming, you weirdo. I'm talking about what movie came next, and that is Iron Man 2. So don't strap on, strap in, because we're going to talk about Iron Man 2, Captain America the First Avenger, and the Avengers. The last 3 movies to culminate Phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Oh wait, before we do that, let's talk about today's sponsors. This video is sponsored by Bespoke. Bespoke Post is a monthly membership club delivering boxes of awesome top-shelf goods from under-the-radar brands. It's free to join and you can skip a month or cancel anytime. They purchase 90% of the products in the boxes from small brands, many of which are based in the US. Every month, Bespoke introduces members to cool new products, outdoor gear, barware, home and kitchen goods, clothing, and more. Even live oysters, based on a preference quiz they fill out. I got 3 boxes and they're all incredible. Every box of awesome has around $70 worth of goods inside, but costs you only a fraction of the value. I got the Weekender bag and it has me all ready to seize the day. I also got the concentrate box that has me making cold brew, as well as the siphon box. I like coffee, okay? You can also preview your box before it's shipped. You'll get a box of awesome assigned to you before it's shipped, and you'll get a preview of what comes inside to decide if you'd like to A, keep it, or B, swap it out for a different box, or even C, skip the month entirely for no charge. You only pay for what you want. Thanks to Bespoke Post for sponsoring this video. To get 20% off your first box of awesome, click the link in the description and enter Browntable20 at checkout, or go to bespokepost.com/browntable20. Check them out, it supports the channel. Thanks so much. Sponsor over. It's time for Iron Man 2.
The biggest compliment we could get on the first Iron Man film was, wow, I don't usually like movies like that, but I loved Iron Man. And what the people are really saying is, oh, it wasn't just explosions and special effects. I cared about the characters.
So, how do you top the first Iron Man? Well, it's in the name, Iron Man 2. 2 Iron Men, of course. Iron Man 2 is genuinely one of the most debated MCU movies ever, because people either love it or don't, and people usually settle that it's an average flick. And to be honest, I understand both sides. And truth be told, while the highs of this movie are as high as the highs of the first one, the lows are way, way lower.
Mr. Musk, how are you?
That being said, Iron Man 2 is still a solid sequel, and it also dips its feet into building the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it works because Black Widow isn't a cameo to shock the audience. She's in the entire movie and has a hand in not only helping Tony through his crisis, but taking down Whiplash as well.
If this was your last birthday party you're ever gonna have, how would you celebrate it?
I'd do whatever I wanted to do, with whoever I wanted to do it.
And a bunch of characters get more screen time and development, from Rhodey to Pepper to even Happy. And while that's great, the character that suffers is Tony Stark himself. Not because he's got less screen time or something, but because the movie doesn't really push the fact that he's genuinely dying way more. I feel like it was too little too late. I feel like a lot of his actions feel extremely dickish and unwarranted half the time.
Think she wants the gallon?
I feel like a scene where Tony Stark is fighting with Rhodey, his best friend, should feel dramatic, should feel sad. But it doesn't. It's actually kind of hype, strangely enough. Certain elements in this movie are really good, they're just handled in ways that aren't the best. Once the movie finds its footing though, it's great. See, the film is about legacy, what fathers leave behind for their children, and that's perfectly reflected in the dynamic between Ivan Vanko and Tony Stark. Is it Ivan or Ivan? Because I think it's Ivan.
In English, it is generally said as Ivan.
A huge thing that was set up in the first Iron Man was Tony's relationship with his father, or a lack of one. And despite Tony believing that his father didn't like him and didn't care for him, he did, but in his own way. Everything Howard Stark created and built was for Tony. While Anton Vanko only left sadness and anger and trusting his son with his knowledge, Howard Stark left a distant smile, a hopeful nod, and also entrusted his son with the future of his work.
My greatest creation is you.
I think Iron Man 2 has its shitty moments, but ultimately it's a fine story, which still has, but plenty of heart. Now here's the thing. What can make a fine story feel like a great one? Presentation. Iron Man 2 keeps the practicality of the first film with, real suits, and you can tell. The Whiplash suit is clunky and feels rustically made, and then you have the classic Iron Man suit, and of course, the War Machine suit, which by the way, probably one of the sexiest things I've ever seen in my entire life. I would sell my left nut to have a working War Machine suit. Without a doubt, I definitely would sell my nut. Actually, I'd sell it to have any working Iron Man suit, except for, I guess, the first one. I feel like I'd die. Oh, and who can forget? John? Yeah, I just rewatched the Iron Man 2 suitcase scene. Where he suits up? Yeah. Yeah, tell me the time and place, and I'll fuck the shit out of you. I'm fairly certain the suitcase suit is fully CG, but that being said, it's so top tier that it's tough to tell in most shots. At the time, Marvel was still allowing CG artists to cook. And so the scene not only has excellent quality, but it's legitimately one of the hypest things Marvel has ever done. And it's organically done, thanks to story build-up and direction. The cars getting absolutely wrecked by Whiplash was also half practical. And that's why you feel like shit is really exploding, because it is. Do you know how popular that suitcase suit-up scene is? Holy shit, man. I remember so many people editing their face onto Tony Stark's after the movie came out. Like, if you look up like Iron Man 2 suitcase scene GIFs, I remember looking up GIFs and it was just like a bunch of people that have just put their faces online, and it's just their face edited on top of Tony Stark's. It's hilarious, actually, and it's so funny. And the impact it made is incredible. People really wanted to be Iron Man. Honestly, at a point in time, it felt like Iron Man was the biggest hero in the world. It was the cool new thing, you know? Another excellent scene is Iron Man and War Machine fighting off Hammer's drones. Woo! Now that's awesome. Oh god. Hold on, I need to change my pants real quick. Oh boy! One of the methods Favreau used in The Lion King is used here, allowing a director to film in a 3D space. Basically having a real-time animatic play out and having the director able to control the camera, and that's how a lot of shots were handled. Ultimately, thanks to great direction, visuals, and performances, who can forget Sam Rockwell as Justin Hammer, the absolute GOAT, peak casting, Iron Man 2 is a fine follow-up to the first. One that explores Tony Stark and how he'd handle dying, one that comments on legacy, the significance of what parents leave behind to their children, and how that can affect their futures. Very solid stuff from the MCU, and again, it feels like a movie and not corporate schlock. I'm looking at you, insert movie here. I didn't say a movie. I want you to pick a movie that you don't like and make it seem like I agree with you, because I don't want to get on your bad side. Okay. Now it's time for Captain America, the First Avenger. And trust me when I tell you, this movie, I have mixed feelings. Okay. Hear me out for a second. Captain America, the First Avenger is one of the best MCU movies ever. For the first hour. Past the point that Captain America saves the 107th Infantry and is hailed as Captain America, the movie becomes kinda mediocre. And honestly, that's probably a testament to how incredible the first hour of the movie is. The film sells Steve Rogers as the perfect person. It's genuinely incredible. And Chris Evans as Steve Rogers is impeccable casting. Y'all probably know this, but I knew Chris Evans from being in the Fantastic Four movie. He was Johnny Storm. And seeing him cast as Captain America, I was like, okay, but he did an absolutely amazing job. Chris Evans kills it in these movies. And the main thing to remember is the MCU is in this really great spot of wanting to create a memorable character and tell their story. And that just on its own is building the MCU. He's the leader of the Avengers, the characterization has to be on point, and it completely works.
Do you want to kill Nazis?
I don't want to kill anyone. I don't like bullies.
Unlike Tony Stark, for example, who is always great at technology and what changes with him is his point of view, Steve is a genuinely earnest, wholesome person. And what changes is what he can do with his earnestness and courage once he becomes a super soldier.
Because a strong man who has known power all his life may lose respect for that power. But a weak man knows the value of strength and knows compassion.
Seeing tiny little scrawny Steve turn into massive big titty Steve is fucking hilarious and incredible. I love it so much. And I think there's a reason as to why so many people like Captain America as a superhero now. Love him, in fact. He is the quintessential good guy superhero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right next to Spider-Man. It's like in the same vein as Superman is to DC. He has a genuine good heart, and that's what makes him appealing. And you know what else is appealing? Captain America's suit not only looks perfect, but its comic-accurate portrayal is incredible. This movie cannot miss in the costumes department. Main thing about this suit is that you always get comments like the MCU is very clunky and militarized. And yes, it's true, but here it works because, well, Captain America is fighting in World War II, so he does look like a military guy, just fucking blue, you know? And a big A in his fucking helmet. It's a great interpretation, coming from the guy who hates when they pad shit up everywhere. It looks solid, I know what they're going for, and it looks good.
This is the best version. Absolutely.
I actually want a Captain America suit so bad. It would be so cool. Yeah. You know what doesn't look cool, though? Hydra. Let me explain. You have this very grounded, dirty look for so much of the movie. This is war, this is real. But at the same time, it keeps cutting back to the Red Skull and his Hydra base and everything. And man, I get what they're trying to do. They wanted to make it clean. There's this aesthetic. I forget the word for this kind of art, but you know what I'm talking about. Just look at how everything kind of is designed. The locations, the vehicles and everything. I don't know why, but everything looks kind of cheap. Everything has a weird gray paint over it, and it doesn't look good. This could also be a lighting and directing issue because the movie isn't the most impressive looking thing to look at, in my opinion. And it's a bummer because Hydra and the Red Skull are a great antagonist for Steve. But the entire third act of the movie, I just couldn't really get into it because the build-up towards it isn't good enough. You have the Howling Commandos, which act like they're good war buddies with Cap and Bucky, but they're the most uninteresting characters I've ever met. And everything from the direction to the sets looks kinda cheap to me. I need water to talk about Bucky, hold on. I was bussing. Even Bucky's death is handled extremely weirdly. It's really sudden and ends too quickly. The conversation Steve and Peggy have afterwards makes it sound like Bucky sacrificed his life to save Steve, and that's what killed him, which not really. I think the movie tries to make it seem like Steve is knocked out, and the Hydra agent is gonna shoot him, but it's so poorly directed that it just seems like Bucky randomly picks up the shield and gun to just take out the Hydra agent, not really to protect Steve. I don't know. I think it's terrible. I really hate this scene. I'm sorry. There's like a trillion better ways to do this. Earth's Mightiest Heroes had a better Bucky death scene. That's nuts to me. So I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm actually not. Fuck you. Yeah. I've told you before, I have to do in every video. I have to insult you every video. I apologize for that. That being said, it's nice to know that he's gonna come back as a bad guy, because that's what happens when sidekicks die. And all the character work given to Bucky prior to his death is top-notch. I'm honestly really happy that the movie's first and second acts are just really, really good, because they carry the movie so much. And, you know, Captain America versus Red Skull, it's a very lackluster fight, and then Red Skull just dies, he gets beamed up, Raiders of the Lost Ark style, or would that be Would that be Crystal Skull style, you know? I don't know, his death is kind of weird, but, you know, he just kind of dies. And, I don't know, I really enjoyed seeing Steve, you know, forcing his way through boot camp. That's incredible. All his conversations with Erskine. Is it Erskine or Erskine? I think it's Erskine.
Dr. Abraham Erskine.
Shit on me in the comments. I don't know. I forgot how to pronounce his name. Actually, you're gonna shit on me anyway, because I literally just shit on a beloved Marvel movie. But it does its job, and it's really, really good for most of the runtime. To get past the negativity, once Steve pilots the ship, oh man, that's fucking... Peak cinema. Steve waking up in the present, how that's handled is absolutely incredible, and I love everything about it. The biggest issue I have with the MCU is that it never really shows Steve acclimating into the present world, present society, modern society. It's a genuine tragedy that we skip through that entirely. Ultimate Avengers does it better. That being said, the little bit we do get with Steve freaking out over modern society is great. And what an incredible final line to end the movie on.
You gonna be okay?
Yeah, I had a date.
Okay, we have everything. Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, the First Avenger. What comes next? The Avengers. I still remember watching Captain America the First Avenger in theaters and getting to the end credits scene, and it was just the trailer for the Avengers. They were like, no, there's no tease. It's just the fucking movie. The movie's next. And that got me so hyped. I was like, I am now pumped as shit. Little 11-year-old, I can't remember the year, 11-year-old boy going like, oh my god, Mom, I am going to literally piss and shit my pants because the Avengers movie looks like the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And that's what I actually said to my mom. And then she said, how did you learn the words piss and shit? I remember I watched the Avengers for a birthday party and we got incredible seats. We were about to watch it in like the front row where we would have to like stick our necks up to watch it. I don't know how people can sit and enjoy a movie like that, but whatever. We were about to sit there, but we got a new screening and we got like perfect seats and... it was a great time. Just a banger movie, honestly. Like, let's be honest. Joss Whedon, trash. Everything really came together in this movie. It was all these characters we know and love with spot-on characterization and perfect interactions. Loki is a perfect villain for the Avengers, and seeing the Avengers team up to defeat him and his Chitauri army is sick as hell. Now, does this movie look kind of flat? Yeah, it kind of looks like a TV episode. But despite its lack of flair and dramatic lighting to make things look larger than life, the staging and direction make up for it. To be honest, just seeing these characters together already makes the movie feel larger than life. I honestly think the best part about the Avengers isn't even the movie half the time. It's a good flick, don't get me wrong, but I think it's more so about the time you spent with these characters in their own solo movies, and finally seeing them come together, that makes it so much more special. Team movies can be made where most, if not all, the characters are introduced for the first time in said movie, like Guardians of the Galaxy. The Suicide Squad too, though to a lesser extent, because there's already characters from the original there, but you get what I mean. So it's not necessarily a law that these characters in the Avengers roster had to have solo movies before teaming up in the Avengers movie, but it does make the assembling feel that much more earned, and it's so much more satisfying to witness. There's just so many incredible scenes from Coulson being like, boss, what do we do now? And then Nick Fury just stares and it's just boom, the Avengers, you know, the Avengers logo comes out, everyone starts cheering. I remember people cheering in theaters when that came up. And I remember people crying like little bitches when Phil Coulson died too. I cried. Yeah, I loved Phil. Phil was dope. And they killed him. And then he came back in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and, you know, I haven't watched that show. So in my mind, he's still dead. And it's still a really satisfying death that actually pushes the characters forward. And I love how that happens, but I also love how Nick Fury subtly manipulated the Avengers to really assemble. And that's kind of fucked up, but I love that. Like, Nick Fury really deadass went, oh man, the Avengers are not gonna assemble. Let me go to Phil Coulson's locker, get his cards, and start fucking putting his blood on the cards so I can chuck it at Steve Rogers so he feels bad. That's crazy! Nick Fury's supposed to be an asshole, and I love how they really got that. And there's a bunch of great scenes like Iron Man and Thor fighting, and then Cap stops them, and then just Thor's hammer just hits the freaking shield and the woods just blow up. Like, bro, that's awesome. We have all the Avengers arguing and it's nice and dramatic, and it's also because of Loki's scepter, duh. Because Bruce Banner is way more susceptible to anger, he's the one that picks it up, damn. And then Hulk comes out and Hulk looks like the best he's ever looked forever. He still looks impeccable. It's probably the best Hulk has ever looked in an MCU movie. And the Hulk versus Thor fight is great, but nothing compares to his transformation scene. That is the prelude to the Avengers finally assembling, and that scene, I'm Always Angry, is one of, if not the best scene in the entire MCU, and it just perfectly encapsulates what the MCU is about. Endgame's Avengers Assemble is arguably better, but every time I think of what is that image of the MCU, I think of the scene where the camera rotates around the Avengers and it's the Avengers movie. I mean, it could also be because I can actually see the scene and it doesn't look like brown sludge. No offense, I love Endgame's third act, but visually it's not it. And of course, I talked about music last time. I forgot to talk about Thor's music. Patrick Doyle's Thor theme, iconic. Nick, play a little bit of it. Okay, that's enough. I don't want to get copyright claim. A banger, a banger. John Debney's Iron Man 2 theme, we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. Alan Silvestri's Captain America theme. And not just that, his Avengers theme. His Captain America theme, a banger. It's fucking perfect. And then we get to the Avengers theme. Dude. Probably one of the most iconic themes ever now. Like, to me, that thing is up there with the Superman theme, with the Pirates of the Caribbean theme. Like, that thing is peak. And it's so simple. You can just, it's easy to remember and sing along to. It's great. And of course, they play it friggin' everywhere in the movie, so you can never forget it. In my opinion, it's not as good as Iron Man, but it's very, very close. And just by being very, very close to Iron Man, the Avengers caps off phase 1 of the MCU in such an incredible way. And I think it was such a memorable experience, not just because the plot is genuinely solid, but because we get to see all these characters really come together like never before. And it's super satisfying, everyone has their own little arcs, and it's great to see these characters genuinely come together in these movies, and they all have a valid reason to be there. Thanos is perfectly teased at the end. There isn't a little cameo like in the movie itself. It's like, we have this movie, we're gonna tell it, and then we're gonna leave the little fun extra bit for the end. And I like how they kept that for the entire phase 1 of the MCU. These heroes were genuinely alone, and were only accompanied by minor supporting characters. Meanwhile now, Spider-Man can't go a movie without another major Marvel superhero coming up out of nowhere. And again, I feel like that makes team-ups less special. While I really didn't like Moon Knight, I really appreciated the fact that I didn't need to know about the Marvel Cinematic Universe to watch it. And I wish we had more of that. I want more of that. So yeah, that's phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I gotta get the hell out of here because my voice is dying and you can probably tell. It's gone, it's going. Bye! Thanks so much for watching the video. Make sure to check out Interstellar Ranger Commence, Browntable's original animated series, on the channel now. Thanks so much patrons as well, of course, for supporting the channel. And if you want to be a part of the Browntable, subscribe and turn on notifications to get a chair. Once you get a chair, you'll be able to vibe with all of us 24/7. So thanks so much for coming to the table, and I'll see you all next time.